Njari Anderson. He is a dual degree student, majoring in sculpture and filmmaking concentration, MCM, at Rhode Island School of Design and Brown University. And here, he is exploring his aspirations through his daily routine. Take a look.
And then they're trying to exist. They're trying to find a space for rest within. Just like
Do you think that that space exists? Those spaces exist?
for rest
Yes.
for Black people.
Yes.
No, I don't think Black people get a chance to rest at all.
Do you think that it can happen? Like, what are your thoughts on it?
Maybe the greatest challenge that I've had to really face is like learning to love myself within these spaces that don't love me, right? Because I think it's hard to find a space to love yourself when everything around you tells you that you aren't. I guess the canon, right? You aren't what is valued.
Right.
And like growing up, I internalized a lot of that. I think I was resistant to my own like Blackness to a certain degree, right? And I mean, and it showed up in my work. It showed up in the people that I hung around. It showed up in how I interacted with people. And I guess that's partially like a growing pain, right?
Right.
There's a bit of a culture shock. I grew up in the Caribbean, right, where I was only around Black people. And then I sort of like violently moved to the U.S., where I was.
How old were you when you moved here?
I was 8. No, I was 7.
7. Okay.
And then
Wow, really young.
Yeah, and then I was sort of introduced to all these new cultures and people that I'd never seen in person before. And the way that they treated my culture, the way that they treated me, I internalized, and it wasn't always positive. And I think even within my family, like kind of like Blackness wasn't necessarily a thing that was prized or a thing that was appreciated. So
Sure.
I think I internalized a lot of that self-hatred to a certain degree. And I just turned 20 for the most part, so I'm slowly trying to learn to love myself within these spaces.
What do you do? What do you do? Like, what do you tell yourself? I mean, like, I feel like we can all really relate to that in so many ways. And what is it for you? Like, how do you deal with that
I don't know.
on a daily?
I don't know if it's telling myself anything really. I think it's just being really aware of who I am, right? And being really present in the moment with the kind of person I am, and the people that I'm around and the people who love me.
Mm-hmm.
See, workaholics is strong. No, I mean, yeah.
Now it's a strong word.
I mean, I work a lot, but balance-wise, I think a lot of people don't understand the reason why I work so much is that, I don't know, personally, I deal with a lot of anxiety stuff, so like, when I'm working, that's when I feel the least anxious about stuff, so at least for me, it's a kind of meditation into like my daily life, so I work, I can control as many variables as possible within the work, and because of that, I'm least anxious in terms of sort of everything else that goes on. I don't look down on the fact that I work so much. I really enjoy what I do.
So the project that I'm currently working on, it's a 5 foot tall figurative sculpture. Working title at the moment is Fountain. I mean, the piece navigates a really complex relationship of mine, at least a proximal relationship that I have with sort of extreme hunger, or sort of the elements that come from being exposed to starvation. The figure is aesthetically it represents. Well, aesthetically, what it's portraying is a kind of chimera figure of an infant, but also like an adolescent boy, with a distended stomach, and that stomach is kind of a key feature of sort of children who sort of are affected by extreme hunger, or sort of anything proximal to starvation or any of those ailments. Right after I had moved here, and I was like up late, really young, watching TV, and then an ad came on at like 2 a.m. and it was like, oh, just donate $2 and you'll provide a meal for X child in X country. And that felt really strange to me because I was in that child's position. And like even till today, I still have like sometimes like pretty frequently significant pains, like significant physical pain when I don't like drink a warm liquid or consume tea.
Njari, when was the first time that you had the initial thought of wanting to be in the art field? Like, what was that first experience like for you? How long ago was it? And do you regret the decision, or do you think it's the best decision that you've ever made thus far?
Yeah, art. I don't know. I guess I'd have to think back to. I think I knew that I wanted to. That I could. Yeah, I knew that I wanted to be an artist in high school, or that I had a chance to actually make it as an artist in high school.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I was always interested in art. In elementary school, I was the person who like won all the like art certificates or whatever. But I think it really became like I think it became a tangible idea, or like a real goal for me in high school, because I don't know, my family at the time had gone through a lot of hardship.
Sure.
And like being from a family of immigrants, like art isn't your first priority, right? Like I was good enough to go and be a doctor or a lawyer, but
Expectations, right?
yeah, expectations will kill you. But I stuck with art out of not necessarily blind faith, but out of a kind of unbelievable, or kind of surreal belief in myself.
So Njari, what are some of the bigger challenges that you face in the sculpture department or the MCM program, and even like with the type of work that you're making? Are there any like roadblocks that you run into? Can you describe some of those for me if you have any?
Yeah, it's hard, because I think the source of a lot of my roadblocks is really myself, and I have to be blatantly honest that like I am my own biggest enemy in a lot of ways, because I think a lot of the ideas that I want to do is because I want to make a lot of work, just in every facet of life. I want to put out as much as possible in the short time that I am here, both like at these schools and living, right? It's sort of, I have these really hyper ambitious ideas, and a lot of times I don't have the greatest sense of time or scope as to what it takes to
Makes sense.
really bring them to life. A lot of the things that I'm doing, or a lot of the things that I want to do, they aren't 3-step solutions, right? It's like
Right.
we start at step 1, we're thinking it's going to take 10 steps, and it ends up taking 300.
You're just trying to like wake up the flavor in the veggies, right?
I'm gonna put some pepper on here. You want pepper, right?
No, not yet.
Not yet?
No.
Wait.
Yes, wait. So the first time I cooked this, I made it for my mom, and she's very critical of my food anytime I cook for her. So
That's where you get it from.
yeah, and so again, I told you I'm just like my mom.
Yes. That's cute.
This is like the first thing that I made for her that she went back for like seconds and thirds for, and I was like, okay, cool. I have something, and that gave me a little bit of the confidence to be like, okay, I can figure out how to like chef in the kitchen properly. And I still haven't written this recipe down. I'm kind of playing it by ear, trying to remember, because I actually haven't made this in like 2 years. So it's calling back to that recipe with my mom, right? But it's a little, okay, so that's burning a little too much. Okay, turn this down.
Yeah.
And things are turning this to the bottom.
I know you're not taking over my job.
Alright, so this is really important. I just need you to keep that from
That 2
burning.
minute time went off.
Thank you. I'm not cooking Thanksgiving for you anymore.
Okay. I will cook this Thanksgiving.
Because every time it was like, oh, we're gonna cook that, I end up cooking and then nobody
Njari,
else.
I promise. This time is gonna be good.
You literally said that last time, and I was up
No.
for 2 days straight.
No, okay, listen. Don't be stingy with them portions.
Bro, you realize I'm feeding like 17.
I remember we had talked about you making this dish, and then we were like relating it back to like back home.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like making food and then sharing that food with people is important for me because it brings me closer to the kind of people or the kind of household that I grew up in, right? I didn't grow up with much, but it was kind of a paramount of my family to like always make sure that you can feed others as well.
Of course.
And I don't know, and that's partially like a part of my love for cooking. It's just one of the reasons why I do cook. It's so that I can one share my culture with people, and then also sort of in a way take care of people at the same time, right?